Now we have north and south, and I know that that district is not that big for it to require two constituencies.
So those are our biggest challenges in this financial budget. We know, for example, that most ministers and ministries want to replace their vehicles, their vehicle fleets. And you can understand why now, because these ones are getting old, they won't run throughout the campaign period. So you need to replace them.
So priorities.
So priority now goes to winning an election at whatever cost. Forgetting that after election, Uganda will still remain for us. Yeah, if that pothole was not fixed, that pothole still remains until you fix it. It cannot be fixed by promises. So that's one of the biggest challenge that this current financial year is going to face. And it also comes at a time when the new government is going to be in place. It will be looking at an already passed budget, because the time that the new government will come in, they will find that there is a budget already, a new budget already going on to the 26-27 financial year. So
we might be in dire straits for the next
we are going
2
to have
years.
a very serious challenge in terms, even the cash positioning, because now this is the time when the ministers are going to be having so many internal trips. So we are trying to watch the internal travel budget, for example, to see how much is likely to be to go in those particular places. So those are the challenge we are facing. It does not only start at the principal level, but even up to the chairperson of the district. That's how resources are likely to be wasted, simply because we are trying to win an election.
Interesting. Now let's look at some of the key macroeconomic assumptions and fiscal targets that shape this year's budget framework.
So among the things that, of course, government intends, what it has planned for is to increase revenue collection. From 31, we are likely to go to 33 point something. So what does that mean? As you know, recently, you are able to thumping the chest. They were able to not only hit the target for half-year performance, but they actually got a surprise of around 300+ billion. And we have been asking ourselves, how did this happen, even without the new tax proposals? It happens because URA increased its aggressiveness to collect taxes. And so they feel that if they increase more aggressiveness, they are likely to get the 33 trillion.
But so, that aggression is mainly on local businesses.
So yeah, it's you see, I think that's our challenge, is that you who has a physical place, you are going to bear all the taxes. More than 50% of this country is informal economy. People are not in the money economy. So they are not going to be affected, even if you increase the aggressiveness. It is only you who has a physical address. And the usual example I give is a border person and a market vendor. A market vendor, you have a board of place. If you don't pay, they close it.
That's right.
If the border person doesn't pay, he will switch to another stage. So the mobility becomes difficult. So one of the things we are telling URA is that you cannot do it alone. You need partnerships. Why would a district go and collect a property rate? The same property supposed to collect a rent is left for URA. That is wasting money. Because if you go to collect property rent and you had an arrangement with URA, you could still also collect for them the rent tax.
Just like we pay for other government services, and the money goes direct to the URA account. Goes
direct to the URA account. So you need that. URA will never patrol all the borders of Uganda. But if you work along with the district and say, look, you have a very big part of your border, as a district, you have a very big part of your part as a border for the country. Can we work with you to stop smuggling? Because you see, when you tax a supermarket on the street and you don't tax Auntie Grace's mini supermarket, she will be eating into the customers of the big supermarket, because the supermarket is paying IFRIS, is paying all these taxes that are on it promptly. But here, Auntie Grace mini supermarket, they are not, because they are not part of your airport. So you need to find out a mechanism to ensure that each and every person who is in the trade contributes their fair share. But if very few do and others don't, you are distorting the market. then you find these supermarkets closing shops simply because they cannot sell. So that's one of the biggest target of government is trying to do. The other one is the famous one, the ATMs. The 10 for growth strategy. Government is saying next 15 years, this economy must grow from $50 billion to $500 billion. I love the idea and the dream. We can dream about it, but we need some practice. And to do the practice, we must do things different way. So if you say tourism must bring in money, and you give tourism just pocket change, and things are still the same as how you are doing it last financial year, then we shall keep on dreaming 10 fourth growth strategy. We won't get it. If we say agricultural industrialization is our major front for the ATMs to drive our economy from being a 50 billion to 500 billion. And instead of increasing its budget, you even reduce it from 2 trillion to 1.6 trillion. Then now some of us, we just don't understand that kind of mathematics of saying, for you to be able to do better, we're going to reduce the money. Because doing better for a government and for an agency means that you need to triple, double the way you are doing things. But also including being more efficient. That one is also there. But instead of buying 10 seedlings, probably you want to look at buying more seedlings. You want to look at capturing more farmers. You want to look at new things that you're supposed to be doing in agriculture. For example, what we are seeing already in agriculture is around issues to deal with the quality of inputs. And I think we talked about this over the weekend, whereby, I mean, you spray cows in the morning with an acaricide to kill ticks.
And in the evening?
In the evening, the ticks have fattened.
Oh my God.
Practically, they have fattened. An indication it doesn't work at all. But there is that one person who approves the sale of these acaricides, of these inputs. There is that one person who is in charge of enforcing quality assurance in this country. And they are all sleeping. There is that country who allows them to get through the border because we don't manufacture them from here. But that somebody is sleeping on the job. So if you want agriculture to really revamp itself, then you have to enforce discipline. The people who are there and are not doing their job, go back home. Let's get people who can help us, who can help farmers. So those are kind of targets government is putting in place. But we have been challenging government that, yes, all of us want to be there, but you need to work on how to get us there. It cannot be business as usual.
Okay. And speaking about agriculture, we recently had the CADAP summit. And among the key issues pointed out was financing of agriculture. Now, when you do talk about ATMs, I understand that is agriculture, agriculture, manufacturing. The T stands for?
Tourism.
Tourism, yes. And
science, manufacturing. They have said they have added also F. It's now fatisms, I think.
What is fatism?
It's around full monetization of the economy.
Full monetization of the economy. Okay. Now, when we look at all that, now specifically agriculture, we've said is the backbone of our economy, and CADAP requires that 10% is set aside for agriculture. Looking at our framework paper for 2025-26, do we have anything near that?
2.9.
2.9. Wow.
And
from 2.5. let's say you said it was 3.5, not even 4%.
It's now reducing. Even when we put 10% aside, and you really want to say that, okay, with even the 1.6 trillion they have given you, what are you going to do with it? You will still find these huge loopholes. When you read the Auditor General's report about how we are financing agriculture and what it's supposed to do, then you get a shock. Because, for example, as part of mechanizing agriculture, we bought tractors without number plates, gave them to farmers, and they put there their own private number plates. So now, a tractor which was a public property becomes a private property. So me and you now, who are waiting that we can be able to utilize that particular tractor that the government gave us?
Brother Ratoro has the right to say, you're not taking it anyway.
You are not taking it because it is mine. And probably also he paid for the private number place.
Of
Now
course.
it is his. So though you look at projects within agriculture, and they are all still wanting. The author journey is showing a number of projects that really I cannot even to get off the ground, and some of them belong to agriculture. I think the biggest challenge we face in agriculture is that we have not started to do things differently. We still believe that we can throw the seeds in the bush, forgetting that climate change has changed everything. This month should be a dry month, but it has been raining today morning.
That's right.
So if you do not really go back to the drawing board and support Ugandan farmers to be able to understand how they can cope with the climate change, then they're not going to do anything. One of the biggest challenges of agriculture is marketing agricultural products. In the budget framework paper, we are not seeing any marketing strategy for government. How do we sell our potatoes, our mangoes, our beans to other countries beyond Kenya? Because one of the challenges we are facing is that we want our neighbor to buy everything from us.
But the neighbor already has the same products to a certain degree.
The neighbor wants only to buy when they are in a crisis.
That's why when they are not in a crisis, our maize now suddenly is not to their standards. We cannot export it.
When we don't deliberate and aggressive, and that's why Trump is going to beat everybody down. He's aggressively looking for the market for American products. And I think for me, each and every leader must look up to that. We know in North Africa, they need milk, they need beef, they need our coffee, they need our fruits, they need our vegetables. But if you want to penetrate that market, then you must aggressively ensuring that all our ambassadors can be able to do that. We recently gave them $1 billion for commercial work to look for the market. I don't think that is enough. The first key performance indicator for every ambassador of this country must be how much of Ugandan products are being sold in the country where I was situated. That should be the number one. Otherwise, we can sit here, give agriculture 10% of the money they need, and we will still be in the same place where we are. It can't happen. So, and the same goes to even all other sectors. As long as we continue doing business as usual, the 10 for growth strategy government has put in place, me and you, we shall come back here 15 years later if God is willing. We shall see, say, oh, agriculture, we still rain-fed agriculture, we don't have money for extension services, we still want to do mechanization. That is terribly wrong. We should be able to speak a different language. And I challenge government that that's what we need to do.
Okay. Well, I'm having a conversation with Julius Mukunda, who is the Executive Director, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. And the point of discussion today is the fiscal discipline, financing strategy, and the National Budget Framework Paper 2025-2026. Now, Mr. Mukunda, we have really talked about the overview of the national budget, but I would like for us to get into fiscal discipline. What does fiscal discipline mean in the context of Uganda's budget planning, and why is it critical for economic growth?
Fiscal discipline basically means spend according to plan, procedure, and practice. If you become indisciplined, you spend beyond the budget or under the budget with not following any procedure or following any approved practice. And at CSBAG, we have actually termed this as budgeting for corruption. That's how it is.
You're leaving loopholes that people can abuse.
You deliberately leave loopholes within the system so that you can be able to fix them during the budget process.
And that's how we normally end up with supplementaries and whatnot.
And therefore, you come up and say, oh, we have Ruowa Hospital. We need to monitor it. But we all know our hospital is not there. But you want money to go on something that is not there. And it's going to be in the budget. Wastage of public resources. You have a pen to buy. Every department we know needs a pen. And as a government of Uganda, you have no price to buy a pen. Neither do you have a standard of what kind of pen do you need. Because there are so many different types of pens. And at so many different prices. Rich countries would say, okay, for us, our pen, we shall buy it at $2. Poor countries like us, you find that we are buying a pen at $10.
Now, speaking of loopholes, I saw a report by The Observer saying that Mpigi Expressway audit reveals mismanagement, overspending. Not only has the project been delayed by over 4 years, but the project cost has also increased from an earlier 547 billion budget to a 1.35 trillion due to lack of adequate detailed designs. Is this feeding into the argument of leaving loopholes?
And do you know why they're changing the designs? Because they started working on the road without proper designs. And that's what I mean. And even the auditor general is saying that certain projects don't have feasibility plans at all. So you start a project and you are like, let's move and see things will fix themselves. Then you end up with a very important road for Uganda, Mpigi Express, Mpigi Busega Express Highway. You say, oh, 500 billion. That around 500 billion. That was the original price. As of today, you are at 44%. The money is not there. You've redesigned it. The money has increased 1.2 trillion, I think, and the road is not even moving, despite all that. Now, that's what we call budgeting for corruption, because you started something knowing very well it won't proceed, but you will still be eating on operational expenses because people are employed. You have a project manager who has to get money. You have equipment, so all those things are there. But for you decided to proceed anyway, knowing in your mind, you know it very well. The project won't move on because the designs that you have were not complete, were not approved, and they won't work. But you still go ahead and do that. So you are able to find something like that, and then you say, okay, I think this is budgeting for corruption. And those are some of the cases that you find that there's a lot of indiscipline. Let's talk about the domestic areas. You are supposed to only commit government if you have that money in the budget, for heaven's sake. Commit government if you have money in the budget. But for you keep on telling suppliers, bullying, we shall pay you, even when you know basically you have no money in the budget. And at the end of the day, domestic areas coming out. Domestic areas, the challenge is that because I know you are very poor at paying me on time. A pen that I've supplied you that was costing 10 shillings, I'm going to triple it to 30 shillings. So that by the time you give me my money, the value is still the same. I have not lost anything. And then the government loses money from that, from that perspective. So as an accounting officer, why would you do that? I know arguments have been advanced that you have decided to say you have given a budget of 10 billion, but as we go implementing the budget, you have cut it. But every quarter, government puts out, provides money that they will pay. Every quarter, even today, the PSST is going to sit out and say, this quarter I am releasing this amount of money. Every 15th, every first week of the 15th day of the first quarter, Ministry of Finance gives you the cash flow and say, this is what you are supposed to spend. But people still not go. People still go ahead and spend beyond that, and we find we have a wastage out of that. So committing government when you have very well you don't have money, and that you begin now getting government to pay the cost of you not paying people on time, we find that is serious fiscal indiscipline. And such a people surely should step aside and we get people who can work within their means. If we don't do that, I can tell you, then we keep on failing.
Has government maintained fiscal discipline in any past budget in recent years?
Oh, sure, definitely. Sure. Oh, not all is bad. You see people when they see me talk about these things, not all is bad. I mean,
yeah, it's important to iron that out.
I know that no, really, let's be very clear. There's some very good things that we enjoy in this country. I can tell you is, look at inflation.
Okay.
Inflation has been subdued, below 5%. If you look at in the whole of the African continent, we are the best. And we take some of these things for granted. I don't even remember when it was a 30%. And things are crazy. Prices were high, everybody was, hey, that's 5%. Our shilling is stable.
It's been stable for a couple of months.
For a couple of years.
Yes.
And that means that somebody's in the kitchen cooking all the time, baby. Somebody's not sleeping all the time. We have some very good cases in court about corruption. I mean, we have a case for trade, remember, people paying cooperatives, they are in trouble. The Mabati Saga, we still have people who are...
Some people were fired.
Some people were fired. So you have those that really, you see somebody being serious about fiscal indiscipline. We have also seen a very strong push from the Ministry of Finance for accounting officers to be able to deliver and implement activities. I mean, some roads are being built. You can't say all roads are not being built, for heaven's sake. I mean, I'm seeing the Northern Bypass is being repaired.
The roads are being built,
I mean,
but there is a but.
Yes.
How long is it taking?
Everything
How
has
much
a but
time
in
is
this
being
country.
wasted? Yes.
Everything has a but in this country, and that's the biggest challenge. That as you take 2 steps ahead, and you want to really to appraise the 2 steps, then the next morning you find you are another 2 steps behind, or 3 steps backward. But we should also, I think, even the little things we do as a country, we should actually be able to appreciate them.
That's right.
Yes.
That's very
people
true.
are being paid on time. You find teachers are being paid on time. You find people are being paid on time. But then you find somebody say, I may have not been paid, I'm missing on the payroll. That's another case.
Teachers are being paid, but I don't know if other entities are being paid on time across the board. Are they?
Those are
the buts you were talking about.
Those are the buts you talk about. You find you are doing very good at this front, but when you come to this front, then things are not the way
but government is trying.
But I believe government is trying. But also, there is this thing I will take for granted. To make sure that you have a budget every year also. It's not easy.
It's no mean feat.
To make sure that, because I have not seen a government failing to have a budget on time.
It has never failed.
It has never failed.
We'll talk about the issue of deficit budgets another day, but...
yeah, I have not seen that. What I think we need to do is that as a country we are endowed with everything. We don't need rocket science to fix some of our problems. The deficit you are talking about, why would you want to spend more than what you have? Can we still live within our means? I believe as a country is that if we're able to control fiscal discipline, we can finance everything that we need. If that health center is built on time and fixed on time, then we don't think our commitment fees.
But if we have protracted times of doing work...
The Auditor is telling us that in some cases, a loan can take 365 days. Others can take 2 years for them to be negotiated and finished. So if you wanted to fix the road,
it's worse.
After 2 years, the road is no longer there. You need to build the road.
I think that's what I've seen, especially in Kampala Metropolitan.
Yes, so we had a project, the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Project, that came out in March 2023. I'm telling you, as of December last year, I think we're only consuming like 10% of that particular loan. So you ask yourself, what is happening? And I think this one also brings us to the undisbursed money. Because when you borrow money and you can't use it, and they start fining you, because this financial year, they already said that we paid around 79 billion on commitment fees. Commitment fees is a fine you pay for having borrowed the money and you have not used it. That's very embarrassing. You borrow money and you have not used it, and then you are fined for not using that particular money. So
is that wow? That's interesting.
Those are things that really churn your stomach. First, you need that road very badly. Busega-Mpigi Express, we need that road yesterday. It is 4 years behind schedule. Not because we don't have the money. No, the money was there, but we planned badly. We've finished all the money on the account, and the road is not even there. So we waste resources from that. So if we had serious people who are able to enforce the discipline, who are able to have the heart for their country, that road would be there. But simply because we have a team, but in some way or the other, for them they believe in tujakumaliyeyo
Tunabiraba. Now, Mr. Mkunda, we are closely coming to the end of our conversation, but I would like for us to talk about financing strategy. What are the primary sources of financing for the 2025-26 budget? Okay,
there are a few things we listed. We are seeing government in terms of the resource envelope where money is going to come from. And that's how we finance. When you say finance, where is money going to come from? First of all, we are seeing that Uganda Revenue Authority is going to collect 33.6 trillion Uganda shillings. Out of that 57.4, remember? That's the number one. We are seeing that we are going to get net domestic borrowing in the country. And I remember I had told you, this financial year ending, we are supposed to borrow around 8.9 trillion. But next financial year, we're going to borrow 4.9 trillion. And I think for me, this is a very good measure because we are not crowding, government is likely not to crowd out the private sector in terms of the credit in the country. External borrowing is likely to shoot up from 9.5 to 3.8 trillion. So we are seeing government in terms of financing this budget, instead of borrowing domestically, going to borrow abroad, which I think is very good because external borrowing comes with a bigger grace period, comes with less interest payment, but also it comes with a very big, a longer repayment period. And lastly is domestic refinancing, which has reduced by almost 45% from 12 trillion to around 6.6 trillion. So those are some of the areas where the money is going to be coming from, and I am hoping that government can really be able to contain its appetite to borrow, especially as we go through these elections. Okay.
Now, the last question: how does the government plan to balance domestic revenue collection with external borrowing?
Every country tries as much as possible to rely on its own money. Currently, our revenue to GDP is around 14.1%. Our potential is 21. We should be collecting more, but we are not. Why? Because first is that our tax policy is not very supportive, if I can say. Why? Because you have what we call the tax exemptions. And tax exemptions are a very huge is what is also take the tax for gone. We exempt people and they don't pay taxes. And second, I think for me is for you, like we said from the beginning, partner with others to help you collect more taxes. So I think in terms of domestic and external is what government needs to put more efforts in collecting more domestic forces by fixing leakages and at the same time ensuring that everybody pays their fair share of taxes.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Mkunda. I've been speaking to Julius Mukunda, who is the Executive Director, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. And we've been speaking matters, fiscal discipline, financing strategy, among others, when it comes to the National Budget Framework Paper 2025-2026. And I believe that as the months go by, before we get into the actual financial year, we will be having Julius and these conversations so much more as we go along. But for now, this is where our conversation comes to an end. Thank you so much, Julius.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. We will take a short break. Up next is Sports Updates. And I, myself, Jerome Paul Sonko, Choba Robert Nyonyintono, will catch you again tomorrow at 6:30. You do a great thing to join us every single morning. We don't take that for granted.
live from